reality though, man. I got my wife here. She's off camera, but she's gonna ask me a couple questions, man. Just to get my outlook on things, see how I see things. Understand where my mindset comes from, where it comes from. I'm just letting you guys know what's going on. What'd you say? What you have to ask me?
Okay, so what inspired you to do music? What made you do music?
Honestly, what inspired me at first to do music was the fact that I can take essentially like dreams and make them into reality. It's like me turning, it's like you seeing something inside your head and me turning it to reality, me creating it, taking something from a thought and making it reality.
Oh, like how people do with books and stuff like that. So taking like the pages of it into a story and then making it create into a movie type of
Boom,
thing.
boom, yeah. So like
Okay.
my mindset goes from like I be wanting to like with my music, it's one thing for me to take my vision and make it into something because I kind of see what I want to see in my head. So when it comes to reality, it's like, whoa, I took something out of my head and made it real. But it's another thing for me to be able to take somebody else's dream, somebody else's thought, and make it real. It's like a whole different feeling. Whole
Ah, so
different feeling.
does it give you like a euphoric feeling to
Pretty much, it's like a that's my outlook. It's like my outlet. I guess that's yeah for like restaurant, right? Yeah, my outlet. Like turning your dream into reality is like mind-boggling to me.
okay. Well, how long have you been doing music?
I've been doing music really. I've been wanting to do music since I was like 14, 15. But I remember the first day I actually did music. I remember it. We were at school. It was me, my homeboy Skeet, my homeboy Mike. We were like sitting in class. Me and Skeet were sitting in class and we were about to skip. We knew we were going to skip, but we didn't know what we was going to go do. So
Not y'all skipping class.
yeah, we were in class planning on skipping the next period. We knew it. We just already trying to figure out where we were gonna go. So we saw Mike in the hallway, and we were like, Mike was like, "Yo, I got my homeboy coming by. He's gonna record some music. Y'all want to come?" And I was like, "All right, I'll come." And I remember going to his house, and we sat in his bedroom. His mom went there. We sat in his bedroom, and like I remember like trying to freestyle, and it was horrible as fuck. It was horrible. It was
I mean,
absolutely
what was
horrible.
your first
It was
time? So
absolutely horrible.
I don't
But
think
but from that point on, I remember going back to the house and telling London, like, yo, we can rap. We're gonna rap, bro. And he was like, yo, okay. I was like, no, 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 for real. Me, you, and Skeet gonna rap. And we had a group called MOM. Yeah, I know
mom.
we know it's mom, but
Mom?
it was called Mind on Money.
Okay,
So
mom.
I remember our barber who used to cut me on the hair named Jesse. He
Ooh, when you had hair, right?
huh?
When you had hair, right?
No, how she talking shit. We just gonna let that go. But yeah, Jesse used to cut our hair, and I remember him telling me he used to do music. He was like, "Yeah, I do music. I do music." He was like, "All right, cool." So I called him and was like, "We want to come by and do a song." And he was like, "All right, cool. Just let me know what day y'all free." So I remember we went down. Me and Skeet drove down to South Carolina to go see my cousin Lynn perform. At the time, she was already performing. She was already like in a group rapping and everything. So I remember watching her perform, kind of put the battery in our back. So when we came back, we called Jesse. I was like, yo, we're gonna do a song. And I remember the song was the first song we ever recorded was Who the Fuck. It was called Who the Fuck.
Oh my gosh.
It was like the clip was like, who the fuck, who the fuck he thought I was. It was, I remember verses were garbage as shit, but I remember doing it. I remember it was at Jesse's apartment. And what inspired me wasn't necessarily the rapping part. It was how Jesse kind of took in what we said and made the song. And I remember sitting there asking him, like, yo, like, how do you do this? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, did you go to school to do this? At that point, when he said no, I knew at that point, I don't care how smart I am or what college, oh, I'm not going to college. I'm doing this. I
So
decided
you
then,
like the
yeah,
creativity part of
yeah,
putting music together from a thought
from a thought
to
to reality. So
right.
I remember like I asked Jesse after we left, he mixed our song. He was charging us like 25 an hour or something. I think we did for like 3 hours on one song. Now, if you rap, you know that's extremely long for one song. But it was our first time. So it was like, all right. I remember asking Jesse, like, how do you do this? And he was like, look, come by tomorrow and I'll show you. And I remember like I thought I was gonna come by And like it was gonna be like some school type shit. Like we sitting there, he's like, "You got to do this and you got to do that," and that's what I guess he had planned. But then this is when I realized how I learned. So I remember going there, and in the middle of him showing me the program, because at the time it was Magix, it wasn't like Pro Tools enough. It was Magix. I remember initially showing me the program. He had a session call and said that they about to come by. And he was like, just sit here for my session. Just sit here for my session. We'll start back when they're done. I ended up being at his house for like almost 5 or 6 hours just watching him. I didn't do nothing else but sit there and watch. And I remember thinking in my mind, like, I can do this. This is easy. I can do this. So I remember asking him, I was like, yo, okay, so what do I need if I want to build my own studio? He was like, you need a mic, an interface, and a computer. I already had the computer, so I'm like, bet. Yeah, I was like, what kind of mic you need? He was like, man, you just need a mic. And I remember thinking in my mind, cool, my dad does like has a mic at the house. We're gonna get a mic. So I remember calling London, like, yo, I'm about to come home and build a studio. He like, all right, cool, cool, cool. I come to the house and I start putting the studio together. At the time, I didn't really ask questions about what kind of computer you needed or what kind of mic you needed. I just remember we had a computer at the house and a mic. So the mic turned out to be a mic that my dad, for his like at the time we didn't have headsets to do like telemarketing things are called or hook up to computer. He had like a push mic. It was like a little desktop mic, little stick, had a button on the front that you could press to like talk into the mic. You let it go and on talk. So I remember plugging it into the computer and like having like scotch tape, like tape the button down. Yeah,
Tape the button down.
tape the button down so that I would be able to record. And I remember like the first thing I recorded on it was like, I think it was something like MOM off in this bitch, MOM off in this bitch. And I remember
Mom.
that listen. So when I recorded that, when I'm recording that, I called London upstairs. It sounded shitty, but I think in my mind, it was a simple fact that I did it. I took that thought in my mind and created reality. I remember taking that thought that I want to record, I'm going to record something, and it became reality. Once I saw that, it was like on from there. I remember like I started calling up everybody in Latonia that I knew that rap. Everybody. If I knew you rap, I'm talking to you about it. And I remember one of our homeboys named Shala. They were in a group. Their group was called UMC, Untouchable Mafia Clique. My homeboy Shala, Kwame, Lazy D. They had one more homeboy, but those are three I mainly remember. Them three. And Shala came by one day and he had a mic. And I remember we set the studio up in another room. And I remember sitting there all night. That's when I got the name Doughboy. Because at the time, everybody was already calling me Nardo and all that. And I was going by Killer Nard. Don't ask.
Oh, I'm not even going to ask that one.
But Shala was like, yo, you should call yourself Doughboy. Like your name already has dough in it. Just call yourself Doughboy. And I was like, okay, bet. So I remember at that point, I started going by Doughboy. And I remember like him getting ready to leave that night. And I was like, yo, you think you could lead a mic here for us? You know what I'm saying? Woo, woo, woo. Like we needed to record because I want to record stuff while you gone. And at the time, he was like, what he said, yeah, I'll leave it over here for you, but like I'm gonna come back in the morning to get it. So I was like, I remember thinking in my mind, I gotta get as much done as I can. But all I knew how to do at the time was press record, and then that was it. I was recording wrong. I was recording in stereo, not mono. I was recording hella wrong. I remember. And
but that's how you learn though in life. Like sometimes, you learn like that.
Yeah.
You learn not to do it like that.
I remember the next day he came by and I was like, man, like I really gotta give you the mic back. He was like, yeah, man, I need it. So boom, he took it. I remember calling Jesse, going over to Jesse's house. And at the time I think London was at school. At this point, I'm like out of school. So I remember going to Jesse's house, and Jesse had a bunch of mics. And I remember asking him, like, yo, how much a mic costs? He was like, oh, man, you can get your mic for like 75, 80 bucks. And in my mind, I was like, the first time we came over here and recorded, we paid you like 75. I bought you a new mic. So he was like, yeah, like, I'll take you to go get one. That was the first time I ever went to Guitar Center. Guitar Center, then no, it wasn't the Guitar Center. It was Circuit City.
Oh my God,
that's how long it was.
Yeah,
He took me to Circuit City. It was over off Pleasant Hill Road. Took me to Circuit City. This is before I knew about Gwinnett and all that shit. So we took me to Circuit City. I remember coming home that night, and London had just got out of school. I was like, "Yo, I bought a mic." He was like, "What?" Boom. I remember putting the mic into the closet because that's how it was at Jesse's house. Putting the mic into the closet, and
so you made your own like booth?
No, not yet. No, I just put the mic in the closet. I had no concept of why it was in the closet, but I remember him putting his being in his closet. There was no foam padding, no nothing, just it sitting inside the closet. My clothes still in the closet, everything. So I remember I called Jesse one day while London was at school. I told Jesse to come by the house. Jesse came by the house. He was like, "How you got this set up?" I was like, "Yeah, I showed him how to set up." I was like, "Boom, I got a studio." He kind of was like, "Nah, dog, like you just got a mic sitting inside of a closet. Why is it in there?" I was like, "Because yours is in the closet." He was like, "Nah, I got mine in the closet to soundproof." And that's when like I really started doing deep dive. Back then it wasn't like Google. You had to like ask Jeeves.
Yeah.
Ask Jeeves what's soundproofing, what's cheap soundproofing, how can I find soundproofing? I remember thinking in my mind, like, I wasn't that I couldn't afford none of that stuff. It's just that at the time that wasn't where I wanted my money to go. So I was looking for cheap options. Then I remember seeing something that looked like it. So the way soundproof foam looks, if you ever look at it, it looks just like a topper for a mattress, the foam topper for a mattress.
Okay.
And I remember thinking to my dad, at the time my dad was real bougie, like, so he got us type of shit like this. We had like foam toppers on all our mattresses. I went and took everybody foam topper off everybody's mattress in the house, cut it into squares. I didn't even cut it in squares. I just laid it along the wall, nailed it to the wall inside the closet. And I started noticing like the sound got better. It was still shitty, but it got better. So I was like, okay, cool. And at that point, it was like when I say it was on, I like deep dove into that shit. Like I jumped head first into it. I'm going to figure out how to record this. And ever since then, I don't think I've ever paid for studio time since that day. Since that day, it was like as shitty as the music was sounding, it was in my mind like I did it though. So I was cool.
So you're just proud of yourself when you're doing it yourself. That's dope. That's dope. So as of today, no, not even as of today, in general, what artist do you feel like inspired you to do your type of music?
I don't really have an artist that inspires me to do my type of music. I have an artist that I would want to be like, not necessarily their personal views, but like Kanye West.
I love Kanye West.
Because Kanye West kind of embodied the whole, I'm going to do it all myself. The only person that'd be responsible for me getting to where I got to be or get to where I got to go would be me. Nobody else, just me. Nobody else. I'm going to make the beat. Because at the time I was making beats. I had to learn how to make beats. I was making beats. It wasn't necessarily good beats, but like in my mind again, it was.
But at least you tried. A lot of people don't even try. They just have a thought that they want to do stuff and they don't even try to actually do it.
Yeah, but I feel like to me personally, it wasn't necessarily along the lines in my mind of us trying. It was more along the lines of I really believed I was doing it. And nobody can tell me nothing different. I was like, bro, we gonna create the best sound in the world. I knew it in my mind, even though I had no backing behind this. I had no real, I guess, I haven't done anything to make me think that I could create the best sound in the world. Because again, I tell you, I do Jesse. Jesse definitely, at the time, Jesse had started working at this studio called Scott Bonnet. I remember he called me one night. I already told him my favorite female artist, like artist crush was Maya. I remember at the time Jesse's working in a studio. He's an actual engineer. And he called me over to the studio. I remember like walking in the Scott, pulling the Scott Bonnet. I've been walking through the studio. The way you walk in, it's a front desk. You walk down this hallway. It's a door here that goes into the booth. But if you keep going further, it's where the engineering stuff is at, where I know Jesse would be at. So I walked back there, and I remember sitting down in a chair facing Jesse like this. I'm facing him this way. The booth is behind me. He's sitting there. I'm like, what's up, bro? What's up? What you call me up here for? And he was like, and he pointed like that. When I looked back, Maya was in the booth. That blew my mind. That somebody I knew was actually living my dream. Ever since then, I wanted to do it. Ever since that second.
So when did you start taking music seriously?
That second. At that second, it wasn't necessarily that I thought I couldn't do it. It was more along the lines I see. Like, like I feel like people don't think they can be millionaires because they never saw one. People don't think that they can be in the music industry because, well, everybody in Atlanta kind of feels like they can because everybody in Atlanta feels like they're famous. But like,
no, not necessarily. They still feel the same way.
No. Like, I feel like, okay, so right now we got an insurance thing. I know it's kind of off topic, but the insurance thing. The only real reason I feel like we could really do this insurance shit is because we have somebody in front of us that's doing it on a high level. We have access to people who are doing this on a high level. We have people that are doing this on another level. To me, I feel like me seeing Jessie that day, literally sitting there with the person in my mind who is the sexiest woman in music right at the time.
I know she's still sexy.
Oh, she's still at the
she still look young.
But like, for me to see that, because in my mind it's like, damn, Jessie is just like me. Jessie like Lily, even though he worked at a studio, he still cut hair. So he was still cutting our hair at the time. It's like my barber is sitting in a studio with a major artist right now, doing what I told everybody I'm gonna do. At that point, it's like I can do it. There's nothing that can stop. There's nothing. And that's really like, I rap now only because I can rap. But goal is to sit behind this booth and just record other people's dreams.
Okay. So from the time you started up until now, what artists have you worked with?
I've worked with Benzino. I've worked with major artists or just artists.
Just artists, period.
Like, I've worked with too many artists.
Okay, so artists that you think that we would know. Who has come by your studio? Who have you had a session with?
Jid used to come to our studio all the time. JID used to come to our studio all the time. At the time, he was going by Root Boy. He came by our studio. My homegirl Allen got in touch with Soulja Boy. At the time, he wasn't going by Soulja Boy. This was before Superman, that whole came out, all that shit. He was just, I can't remember what he called himself. It was like, it wasn't Soulja Boy. And him and his friend came by and they recorded a song. It was like, Y'all Bitch. I remember that song. He ended up re-recording it because he ended up starting recording his own self. But like, my friend Allen had brought him by. I remember because he wasn't nobody. He was just a kid that she said she knew from school. And he came by with her. And no, it wasn't a kid that she knew from school. It was a kid that she knew from school. This was his cousin from out of town. And he was like, she had told him basically like, yeah, my friend's got a studio in Latonia. Like, y'all want to go by. That's why when Soulja Boy talks about Latonia, he would be at our studio. He came by a couple of times, but again, he wasn't famous then. He was just, I can't even remember what he used to call himself. It wasn't Soulja Boy though. I remember that. But I remember he came by because when he finally blew up and he had the Superman and all that shit going on, I remember Allen calling me and telling, that's the dude that came by. Yeah, that's the dude that came by. Well, I can't remember her own girl name. But him, recent years I worked with Benzino, I worked with Gucci, Gucci's artist. I can't remember the chick name that's on Love and Hip Hop. It's one of Gucci artists, but I worked with Todd Uno. Obviously my brothers, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's, to me, just being able to sit behind the computer and create somebody else's dream is like amazing to me.
Okay. I think that's all the time that we have for today, but I really appreciate these conversations, really to know who Lito is.
All right.
As a person, as a, artist, as an engineer. Appreciate these moments.
All right, y'all. We out, man. This is real quick. All right.